Three, two, one. Hi, and welcome to yet another expat. This is episode number 18, and it's coming a bit on a random day because we don't know anymore what's Monday, what's Sunday, and what I'm capable of producing. Sorry for being a bit late in this podcast. I will be thunder, I will be fast Hermes, like pow, 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 and share all sorts of things with you. Now, first up, I have a confession to make. I'm still in the countryside of Greece, 1 week left until I become a true expat living my life in Berlin. But my farming side, this side quest I'm doing in life, spending some time here, is only getting more and more upgraded. And what I mean by that, as you might have seen from the picture of this podcast, I have a goat now. I have a goat that I didn't ask for. I'm taking care of a goat. It's part of my life. My hair smells like goat, and I have a special set of clothes now that are the goat clothes because I realized if you if you interact with the goat with your normal clothes, then the whole house smells like goat. Goat is a big part of my life now. I had to drive to town and literally ask a store that sells food to farmers. I told them, hi, since today I have a goat, what does it eat? And I bought some food. But how did this all happen? My dad came to visit here in the summer house and he decided to buy a goat. He was raised in a small village and he thought, you know what? Why don't I get a goat and have some milk for the summer for when I come back later? You have to love the thinking of the man. He was raised with animals, but he left that life when he was 16 and never had animals again. He's now 73. You know, this old person's dream of how things should come together. And I get that. I feel that. I also want to retire in the countryside and have a few animals. But I want myself to have the animals, not to drop the animals on my children. My dad is now 73, and there is a goat in our garden that he brought. He milked it once, and then he left. And it was surprising to see that he can still do the milking. Milking is not easy. It looks simple, but it's not. And guess what? He brought this goat. He milked it once. He had to leave again for the city, only to come back a few days later. And he said, Hermes, the goat is yours now. And by the way, you have to milk it. And by the way, you have to milk it twice a day. And by the way, do you know what happens if you don't milk the cow? It dies. It can die. It can get all sorts of horrible things if you don't milk it. It can get mastitis, which is a disease of the goat boobs. It can get sick. It can stop producing milk. It's suffering. It's swollen. So he just dropped that problem on my face and left. And I have to say, this is his way of introducing me to things. You know, I get that there are some parents, they say you don't need to solve everything for your children. My dad is can be a bit the opposite. Let me tell you this short story aside from the goat that I'm now responsible for and is shouting outside of this room. When I was 18, my dad had promised me a used car. He said, "Okay, if you make it into a good university, then I will buy you a used car to drive around." It sounded like the dream, you know. This was before 2010, so people still had some money. So I take my driver's license. I am licensed now to drive a car. And time goes by, and my dad is like, you know what? A car seems pretty big expense at the moment, and also you don't have a job, so it won't be easy for you to pay the insurance and pay the taxes and pay the gas and find parking. And it was true. I was still just a student. And he says, "How about I buy you a motorbike?" And that sounded cool. I was like, "My, yes, let's do it. You know what? Okay, car is nice, but I'll take anything right now. Let's just give me something so I stop taking the bus where everything smells like armpits." So his plan on buying me a motorbike, this was a 50cc scooter. Okay, so it's a small motorbike, not very strong, and he literally invites me over. We go with his motorbike how do you say, to one store that has motorbikes. Like they have them on display, different ones. So we go there together, and I'm thinking this is browsing. We're just gonna check one. Maybe we buy it at some point. Maybe he teaches me how to drive it. I've never driven a motorbike at this point. I'm 18. I just had my driver's license for a car, and I've never driven a motorbike. So what would be the logical thing to do? Well, let me tell you, my dad drove me to that store with his motorbike. He then proceeded to purchase a motorbike on the spot. Yeah. And then they put that motorbike on the road. My dad got on his motorbike. He looked at the motorbike waiting for me and he said, "Let's go." And this was my life, never having driven before. It was automatic, thank God. But it was also, that store was located in an uphill, so it wasn't even a straight road. And I thought, okay, you either swim or you drown or whatever that is. And I thought, this is it. I've had a bicycle before. I hope this works. And I took a leap of faith and I started driving this thing out of nowhere. We drove it for 5, 10 minutes to go to his house. He was leading, and then he looked at me and he said, "Well, I see you can drive it, so good, go. Go get them, Tiger, fly." It was the most scary day of my life. I had to also give a driver's license just to be legal with that thing. And I still remember driving from the tiniest streets back home, avoiding every big motorway. And then I practiced in the university campus because this is where the police couldn't enter in Greece. So no one could give me a fine for not having a driver's license. So this was my next month, just driving around the campus, putting my own obstacles to get used to it. And then I got the driver's license for the motorbike, and then everything was good. But you understand how this man approaches problems, just pure confidence. And I have inherited a lot of that. But yes, the motorbike is one thing. Dropping a 200-kilo animal in front of the house is a different one. But this is my life. I live the goat life now, and I basically had to milk it 4 days until he came back. I I walk around now with a handsaw because I'm cutting branches. Is one of my daily things. Olive branches, vineyards. It's just testing. Like I bring different branches. It likes some. I also have the normal food that I give to her. And we're slowly getting to know each other. Sometimes I walk her around like a dog, but she's wild. The other day, while being on a rope, you tie her in a tree, and then you go after 2 hours, and she has dropped over the water, she has tripped off over something, entangled herself. So it's just a Sisyphus task of always untangling her and giving her some water. So somehow she managed to jump over the fence and go to the neighbor. And I was working and only having about 10-minute breaks between calls. So imagine me dropping a call and running over the fence, trying to entangle the goat while literally counting by the minute. And we ended up with my partner managing to get the goat standing on the fence. I know that sounds surreal. And then I took it in my arms to bring it back down. It almost broke my back, but we are developing a bond like this stupid goat and myself. Walking it around in the evenings can be fun. She likes to eat roses. She shouldn't be eating roses. And she tries all things around. We also have a dog house here from many years ago that we had a dog, and the goat is like double the size of the house, but somehow she makes it fit, and she's the cutest when she does that. Am I getting attached to the goat? The goat is definitely getting attached to me, let me tell you that. I think there is some Stockholm syndrome situation going on. The first days it was afraid, now it's giving me kisses in my ear, it's trying to eat my t-shirt, it's licking my fingers. But the worst thing is that she's calling me. She knows how to call me, and she really enjoys doing that. So I'm serving the goat basically. I'm serving the goat for 23 hours and 50 minutes of the day, and then there's the 10 minutes of milking. And this was the hardest task. I watched YouTube videos, I watched the grip, how to do it, I watched advice, how to hold the goat. It was the worst thing I've done in my life. Me and my girlfriend, who were trying to hold the goat, one was trying to get the milk going. It was a disaster. The goat was kicking, shouting, rolling on the ground. We felt horrible in our hearts because we don't want to be making this animal suffer. But at the other hand, if it doesn't get milked, it's going to have problems. It's going to get all swollen. So the ultimate motivation is not for the stupid milk, it's for having the goat be healthy. So we fought the first night about 1 hour, 1 horrible hour of sweat and goat hair rubbed all around me. The goat was bringing its head and head butting me or trying to push me, and I was pushing it back to hold it in place, and there was so much intimacy going on to try and stay foot, and we managed to milk after 1 hour and puddles of sweat and many mosquito visits. And I hated myself, but it wasn't enough. We knew there was more milk in there. So next day, I wake up. I hate waking up early, and now this goat is waking me up at 6 a.m., shouting with its goat voice to go get served. But we tried to also milk her the next morning, and it was impossible. After 1 hour of fighting, we felt that we are hurting her, we felt that we are hurting our souls. And that's when I thought, okay, I'll give it one more shot in the night, in the evening, and if this doesn't work, we need to take action. So after one more horrible evening, by the way, I think the entire milk I managed to milk was probably a cup of milk. And when my dad milked this cow, it produced half a pot of milk. Okay, so we had a problem, and I decided I'm calling it quits. So I called my dad and I said, listen, I've tried 2 days, 2 hours, sweat, blood, tears. I cannot do it. Okay. I was the disgraceful son. I couldn't get the thing through. I tried online, wiki how to a wiki how of how to milk a goat. It was just taking so much time and energy and frustration for both me and the goat, jumping and complaining. So it was done. So what happened then is that there is a farmer boy in the area that was also helping us some years ago, and he's a field worker, and we know him for a long time. He has some. He's a special case. He has a mental condition. I'm not saying that to take anything away from him. Even the opposite. I think he's doing amazing. And knowing him over the years, he's getting more and more social. But anyway, we call him and we say, "Listen, can you come once a day and milk the goat?" And he comes in the night. He appears. He is, by the way, the fittest person you've seen because he works carrying shit all day. And he comes there, and his speech can be a bit confusing at times, but he comes and he greets me. He remembers me. We go to the goat together, and me, my partner, and him are there. And I'm just wondering how the fight is going to go. And seriously, the dude goes, grabs the two back legs of the goat, spreads them, puts them down, and he starts milking. And let me tell you, the fucking goat obeyed completely. The goat just stood there getting milked. I could almost say maybe the goat even enjoyed it. Okay, I will go as far as to say that the goat was having a good time. The dude was just milking. By the way, he came after having drunk a few beers, and he was a bit. He wasn't in his best phase. Let's just say that. And still, he just hypnotized the fucking goat and started milking that there's no tomorrow. I felt like I was just looking at him and I could not believe what is happening. I felt like the Z male. I don't know what there is in the glossary. He was the alpha. He was the sigma, the giga chad, whatever the sentence in whatever the maximum one is, that was him. I cannot describe you. He was doing a single grip. He was doing double grips at some point, just double squeeze all the milk down. He could put in one squeeze the entire milk I was struggling to get out in an hour. And we just stood there mesmerized watching at that miracle. I could really feel how the goat was judging me silently, like, do you see how it's done? Do you see how it's done, you stupid city boy? You don't know how to grab my breasts. And I also, let me tell you, the videos on YouTube were like, you grab it like this, and then you put two fingers here. The dude was just, he had the grip. He was also, as he was milking, now maybe this is too much information, but you're in this with me, and I had to observe, I had to learn. He would massage a little bit or just move them around to help the milk come down. He could feel when the milk is in the right place to milk it. Jesus. So anyway, that was done, and then he turns around and says, wow, I haven't done this in a decade. And there I was feeling like a total noob. And this was my night for 3 days. Every night, Fotis, the field worker, would come and milk the goat. And every time afterwards, we would go on the balcony and crack some beers. And he would smoke one cigarette after the other. And we would talk about all sorts of random things. He loves being social, and I like exploring people, sharing, asking questions. So this was our night. He would come at 10 p.m., milk the goat, blow my mind, come in the balcony, drink the beers, and then be done. Lastly, my favorite thing with the goat is when I'm done with work and I can just be a bit more chill. And that's where I untie her and I let her roam around. And she's a bit like a dog, just starts going around exploring the place. But let me tell you, this goat has no sense of self preservation. She just gets entangled every single time, or she climbs a spot that then she cannot get down and gets stuck there. I've thought that this goat will jump on the ground from a high many many times, and I keep telling myself she's smart enough to not do it. But every time I leave her around, she is ending up in some impossible situation that needs saving. But this is her. Her name is Della. We've had quite a wild adventure this last 4 days, and I think if I start my own farm, the first animal I'm going to get will probably be some chicken. Okay? It's much simpler. You just throw all of your food waste to them, you bring some corn, they do their thing, you then clean, you go get the eggs. No need to squeeze the egg out of their chicken vaginas. You just steal it in the night. That would be awesome if you had a goat, and then in the night you can just go and get a bottle of milk next from where she sleeps. That would be ideal. And let me tell you, the goat milk is amazing. You need to milk it, you need to filter it. You need to filter it twice. You need to let it sit for some time, get room temperature. Then you need to bring it to a boil. Then I usually filter it again. Then you need to make it cold. And then you need to put it in the fridge. And this is something that for a lazy person like me could even take 2 hours. So every midnight, if you're wondering, every midnight what I have been doing instead of recording a podcast, I've been boiling goat milk and filtering grass and hair out of it. But okay, this was my life with Della for the past 4 days. And I think with this, I'm going to cut this one short. I will. Thank you very much for sticking around in this glorious story that taught me that you never know what's coming to you. One day you wake up and a goat is sitting outside of your house, and you know what? If life gives you a goat, you have to milk it. This is what I learned. And if you can't milk it, you need to find someone who can milk it, otherwise it will die. So remember that. Thank you for sticking around in this weird podcast. If you haven't shared it yet with your friends, give it a consideration to do so. If you don't like this podcast, then even better, you can share it with your enemies. And you can leave a comment down on Spotify to help the algorithm help me, or leave a review. Make sure to follow, and all these beautiful things that every person in need for attention and recognition would appreciate a lot. Not me, I don't need any of that. I am great. My self esteem is so much higher after my goat adventures that I am ready to carpe diem the hell out of this week. Done with Della, done with the summer house. I'm back in town. That's Athens. And in a few days, I am back to Berlin. So, hope you have a great week ahead, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.